comments here, any discussion? Additions, corrections?
I have one question, I forget, where is Kingsland Hollow? Which one of them is it?
Wildcat down there.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Motion to approve minutes.
Have a motion to approve minutes from October 21st, 2019 meeting. Do I have-
Second.
Do I have a second now? All in favor?
Aye.
Please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I guess, Bob, over to you.
Okay, first thing we have on old business is, Kingsland Hollow. We got some maps, or plat, I guess, for it. And plenty of pictures. I did go down and, take some look at some of the drainage that was, put in down there at them, 4 lots. And also, I guess they're in the process of selling the other 55 to somebody else to redo the plat. And,
Now wait, they're selling it to somebody else?
the rest of it, they sold actually 6 lots, actually, off that. And, they're looking at trying, somebody else is looking at buying it and redoing it and putting in like 4 houses like they done there, and, done away, so I told them when, actually, we had a realtor call about that, I let them know that we had not had approval of the drainage from that, so we probably wouldn't build anything until, we're not gonna issue any permits until.
For the next 4 houses, there isn't drainage for it yet.
There's not even anything, I don't really, technically, there's none of the drainage is put in for the first 4 either, so. They put 1 pipe in under a road that wasn't even in the plans, and, now we have where the ditches are supposed to be along the road, the cul-de-sac, there's 2 drives so close together, you couldn't get anything back in between the house, or between there to get a ditch. They concreted all the driveways up to the road. The 2 houses on the south side, they are actually, the first floor is lower than the road, so the ground slopes straight back, there's not enough room to put a ditch in there, to get the water to where it's supposed to be. And the Duke energy boxes are actually right on the property lines, right, and it's like I say, right where the swells are supposed to go south, and, so I don't know what you guys wanna do. I got some.
Why did they mess it up so bad?
They did, I mean, they were trying to build the houses on a concrete slab, it looks like, and not actually a crawl space to keep them lower cost, I'm guessing, but, the one house is, if we get any kind of rain at all, the water's gonna come right over the road, major water, and it's going right down a concrete drive right into people's garage. I mean, we're talking a $400,000 house. I'm really afraid of what's gonna happen here.
I mean, they didn't even follow anything that they said they needed to do.
Nothing.
We had people living down there without permit.
I mean, we just didn't, the certificate of compliance we haven't issued yet. I did, Cameron went with me, we did go down and meet with, the realtor that represented the 4 families that bought the house. And we met with, Brian King, he was the general contractor on the project for the houses. And he did say he was taking some, he's one that was kind of requesting us to postpone the drainage to the foundations were in, which, then it was supposed to, we had things together where they were supposed to get back with me within so many days before they started doing the drainage, and I never received any word from them. I mean, there's no water standing, but it's all just sheet draining across the road and across other people's property. They're not actually any defined ditches or swells or nothing like that, other than just that 1 pipe going under the road. I don't know, I got some pictures here, we haven't been down there yet.
Yeah.
This is kind of, these 2 here look similar, they're the ones back, at the very back of the cul-de-sac where, there's supposed to be a swell going on further west between the 2.
Where's the swell supposed to be?
But a tree is, and that third corner drive is supposed to come out there. Yeah, it's supposed to be tiled, or pipes coming out of the drive right there.
all,
Then run it back, then run it back to the west, it'll.
there's no tiles under the guys. Yeah, this one here, we have water going down, the guardrail.
I'd be disappointed if I had that house.
Here's kind of the, this is the north side, right there, back there by that, I was, kind of the walk, I mean, the hill's sloping down towards the road, there's no ditches at all there, there's kind of another one.
You know, we haven't taken these roads into the county highway.
They're not gonna be, they're gonna be considered private, they didn't wanna. We don't wanna. Yeah. But, and there's. Kind of. Some other one there, it's the, here's where they put the pipe in. The kind of under. These two are the.
Yeah, I don't know, it could be that one there.
Yeah, cause this is supposed to south there, and that's what.
Yeah, that's the far
Same
northwest one there. Yeah,
Northeast, isn't that northeast?
Northwest. Northwest.
Oh, okay, okay.
East of the back of the cul-de-sac. There are two kind of,
Yeah, that's
the south side of the road where it's just basically sloping straight down, there's not really a way to put a ditch.
Well, I'm disappointed, I was really excited about this subdivision.
This is here, guy, the picture really don't do it justice, that's the one that's actually has the water running down into the garage. And there's a pretty good slope there. On the property. What's our options here, Ted?
You can get a bond after the fact, I mean, it should have been done as part of the process of getting the approval.
I think we
We
was asking
don't
for it,
have-
they just did.
Unless Donnie knows, I don't know that we don't have any kind of penalty. What the board has is the power to withhold approvals. And those approvals have basically been given, and
I mean,
without a performance bond, there's nothing to back it up, realistically.
and, I did talk with the realtor, they said only people, the way they financed it, they didn't have to have a certificate of occupancy or a certificate of compliance or whatever like that from any county, so. The landowners are pretty much wanting for their own peace of mind, but, I think, like I said, I mean, the only thing I can see that we could possibly do on the north side would be, we can still get some ditches in there, and maybe another pipe under the road back towards the cul-de-sac to at least try to retain, or slow the stormwater down if we do get a big rain.
When you say we, do you mean the county or
Or no,
the property owners?
yeah, whoever's, I mean, it would be the developer, right? Or, they're still, I mean,
You can only control what you got, haven't already been sold, right? You're talking about the ones that haven't been sold.
yeah, well, I mean, just the whole subdivision in general, I mean, none of the, I mean, we still have a road at the back that hadn't been developed, and they've actually sold a lot off of that. There's an easement across the lot, we need to figure out what we're gonna do with, cause the new landowner, or I guess, from what I hear, people want to buy the rest of it, they don't want that road back here, but there's a lot of it that's sold to the poor landowners that's there now, and they have an easement to this road, so. And there's no way to possibly put it in between the two houses to get back here from the cul-de-sac.
You have a comment?
Yes, I was just wanting to be a part of what's going on. I'd like to know where you're talking about. and that
Okay,
sort of thing.
if you would go out of, on Dayton Road, out of Piermont to the south, just prior to crossing the Wildcat Creek, you turn to the right. And actually, that's the old road used to go down and across the covered bridge down there. And, it's on the north side, I think it's north side of that road, that just dead ends down there. It's in Clay Township. Yes,
Have the homeowners had problems when it's rained recently? Have they had any trouble with flooding and all around there?
No, I mean, we haven't really haven't had, we've had a couple 2-inch rains over a couple days or something like that, but there's not been any water standing. But as far as, they haven't had any complaints on our septic working or nothing like that. It's just, I'm afraid that with the big rains, and we did have this in place to make sure people done the right thing, keep it, because state tractor covenants, you can't shed water on somebody else's lot. So,
Can they install a common drain that they can all tie into?
well, I don't know if there's a way to, like I said, we could run another tile across the road and get a lot of the water on the north side where it's coming off the hill, to hopefully get it. It's gonna run across the people's yards on the south, but, they've already done one, and, it's gonna drain, it's just not gonna, we just have to worry about people on the south side having water issues.
does it stand on top of their septic system?
No, that ground slopes enough that, like I said, they got a 2-inch rain and the next day it was gone, they didn't have to.
Yeah, but this was 2 or 4 inches.
Yes, if we get one, yeah,
This year we haven't had.
Can I fill in some gaps in between for Donnie?
yeah.
So, last year when we went through this with the Board of Commissioners, we bought the
Can you
set.
state your name, please?
Troy Cole. So I'm the guy that originally bought it and subdivided it. So, the original way that we had the covenants written up was that the homeowners would be responsible for the easements and the drainage. These 4 homeowners, if you're familiar with the property, there's one main lane that goes right through the middle, all the way back to the Wildcat. These 4 homeowners together bought pretty much everything on the right side of the lane. They own all 7 of those. There's one lot that we haven't sold them, but we're in the process of selling them, so that they have everything on that side. They together decided to hire Brian Keene, and Brian agreed to take care of all the drainage. The agreement was, and the way that we got through the drainage board last year, or it was actually 2 years ago now, I think, a year and a half ago, was that Brian would set the foundations and then take care of the drainage based on the elevations of the foundations. That ring a bell with you, Donnie?
Yeah, he said it would adjust some of the depths of
Right.
the swells and stuff, but he never
So-
said that we were doing away with all that.
We sold them the lots, and I just assumed that they did what they were supposed to do. They built all the houses have been completed, the last one was completed almost a year ago now at this point. My understanding is that Brian never did what he was supposed to do, that's why I came back and got involved in it, because we got ready to sell the rest of the property to one family who's ready to do something similar on the other side of that road. They came back to me after talking to the county and said, hey, they've said they're not issuing any more building permits out there until this side gets taken care of. I've sold this land over here, I don't have any control of that land over there anymore. I've got this land over here. I got involved because I feel like I need to get over here and make sure that Brian Keene does what he's supposed to do, agreed to do, and was paid to do, so that I can sell the rest of this land to this other family who wants to do something similar on the other side of the road. Covenants and restrictions said that they were responsible for their drainage, for their easements. That was put through a year and a half ago, or whenever we went through the original subdivision part of this. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, because I really have no legitimate control over this other than to get together with the 4 families that have already built, take things out of Brian's hands if he's not going to do it, and then go back and sue him. But it's holding up this other side of the road over here, which is a whole different family who wants to do something similar. They want to reconfigure things, so on and so forth. They want to build a cul-de-sac coming off of the county road. Whole different issue over here than over here, but the county's telling us that they won't issue any more building permits over here, so I can't sell this land until we get this side over here cleared up. So I'm here trying to figure out what needs to happen in order that these people, the 4 that have already built out there, as far as I'm concerned, there should have been a performance bond in place. That should have been the accountability for making sure that that got done over there. It's holding this up over here, which it's 2 totally separate things. So I think these people are willing to work, the 4 people that own are willing to work with this. It's a matter of getting the contractor to do what he was supposed to do, and or us doing it and then suing him for whatever the damages are.
And the county has no, control over the contractor on the form, because the county's not a party to that contract. So we have no leverage other than.
No, and apparently a performance bond was never issued, so.
We had him, he has it in hand, but he never filled out, or never got it back to us. We did that in January of this year.
This is why we do a building inspector.
Well, we need to, I should strongly suggest we start doing, have a performance bond in place before we do, any kind of subdivision, protect us in the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Cameron,
I'd like to ask that moving forward, when we do get to that next phase, that, there was one put out there, the guy never really filled out on it, that from the APC side, that we don't move forward till that's in our hands. So that's gonna be, sometime that's gonna be in my ballpark, and I don't feel comfortable until this part's completed, or we'll figure it out, but bonds are put in place for the exact reason, so I'm asking you guys, moving forward, when we get to this next stage, when we do, that you guys are okay with me saying, nothing's gonna be done until we have a bond in place. But
Well, I thought that was the issue with this one.
this plan was approved by the municipal,
Yes,
correct?
yes, and actually we done,
And who presented us the
that would be Troy, didn't it?
Well, I look at your responsibility to conform these plans. You follow the range work.
And you weren't here when we went through the approval process for issuing the building permits based on Brian saying that after the elevations were set, he would get the drainage put in. So,
Yeah, I don't really care what anybody said. It's what was signed, what's documented. This is supposed to have been done this way, and it wasn't done this way.
Actually,
We
you
want
did.
to see, results, the way I look at it.
And you did sign this one in January too.
Well, you didn't perform.
Yeah. I mean, this was after they'd already started
I thought maybe I.
the houses were already there, and they didn't still have money yet,
You
so.
didn't provide the bond to protect us, protect yourself. You didn't bring it to us.
that wasn't me, that was on the contractor. The county agreed to allow.
We didn't receive it. We never received it.
I agree, I had already sold the land. The land that isn't owned by me anymore.
Was he made aware of that?
Was who made aware?
Those who bought those lots made aware of all this?
Yeah, they were here through all of the zoning that we went through, the subdivision process and the drainage.
And Brian is willing to do whatever we want to make it right. I mean, I just,
I don't see it right now.
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, it's like, I mean, beyond the point of making it right without doing a lot of, I mean, you're talking a lot of money to do it the way it's supposed to be done. And like I said, I mean, to him, to me, when he was saying he was just gonna adjust the swells, I mean, that was, I mean, if he would've come in, I mean, I would adjust the houses based on the land too. I mean, I'm not gonna set my house down 2 foot lower than the road and not expect water to come in. I mean,
You just have to control it.
just, they raised one house on a foundation, they should've done another one. So, I mean, that's, I mean, I don't know what we can do, I mean, other than let him, we did talk about the 2 ditches on the north side, put that new pipe in. And getting water at least running close to it, we're gonna have to worry, we gotta have it located for the electric that runs through there to that big box transformer.
Might be moved.
Yeah, that's, yeah, so I mean, like I say, I think now on, we need all the infrastructure in place before we allow to build, period. I mean,
I thought that's what we were doing when we started with this. They had to do this, then we'd go in and look at it and say, okay, then we can go to the next phase.
yeah, and that's what phase 2, now they're talking about changing all that, so it's all gonna be a whole new drainage thing too, so I mean, But there, when we get to that point, we need to upfront.
So how are these places getting insured without any bonds or anything, or permits from us?
Well, I mean, they have their building permits, and they just, their certificates of compliance, all we do is make sure they build on the lot where they said they were gonna do, and they built inside the house, so.
But basically, we really don't have a dog in the fight right now, because if they get ruined, it's not our fault, we got plans
Yeah.
saying that you should have done that.
Mhm.
And now we're restricting this gentleman because we're not gonna issue permits because of this issue. And there's no guarantee that this is not gonna happen again.
Well, there is if you get a performance bond from the next people.
Before they even start.
And that's my question, can I move forward? Can these people move forward? Two separate deals. Can they move forward if they do what they're supposed to do over on this side? What you're doing is using this as leverage to get these people to do what they're supposed to do, and it's two separate groups of people.
Well, we don't want another case like this again.
Oh, I
If they get
completely,
flooded, we're not gonna be responsible because they didn't follow our plans or nothing, that's my biggest concern right now.
We're gonna bypass
They
it.
should.
Why
It's all on them then, right?
Why even bring us in?
Yes,
Or it'd be on the contractor that didn't.
well, I
do
mean,
it.
that's a matter of contract between the owners and the contractor, and the county's not a party to that contract.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, we ran into the same issue on another housing addition when, up by Oakdale, when we, I started looking at the plans and they were submitting the septic drawings and there was no drainage for it. And it wasn't addressed until I said, hey, you can't put a septic system in here, there's no place to drain it. And so they had to go back and put in a common drain that everybody in that subdivision could tie into for the septic part of it, because they were selling off lots there and there was not, I don't know if that's my division, because I don't deal that much with drainage as far as, you know, I look at soils, I look at what's adequate to put a septic system in. So where was this broken down is my question.
Well, usually the drainage, that one was done way before my time, but usually the drainage is dealing with the surface water, storm water, it's not dealing with subsurface water or septics or nothing like that, that's not. I mean, where they have to tile, they have to find their own, I mean, there's no way we can put ditches in deep enough to maintain that if you have to put a perimeter drain around, I mean, that'd be some real bad things. I mean, I don't know if there's something we need to get in place that.
Well, that's state, the septic, residential septic is state, and it's not county ditch drainage, that's a separate requirement. The perimeter drain is regulated by the state, and the health department regulates it on behalf of the state. So the perimeter drainage for septics is not part of the surveyor's responsibility, or the drainage board for that matter.
But surface water is.
Right.
Basically, there's nothing we can do with this pour out.
Not before, I mean, unless,
We just won't issue their,
Certificate of compliance. I mean,
Yeah.
which, I mean,
so when they go
really
to
the
sell
drainage
it,
has nothing to do with their.
right, if they wanted to
size of the
sell it
house,
in the
they
future,
just
they
do it.
really couldn't sell it with, because they wouldn't have our permits.
Really, I mean,
permit for what? They've already built, right?
yeah, they were.
None of them have the permits saying that the house was built according to what the permit plans were in front of.
Which, really, we can't, I mean, they do if they put it where they said they were gonna do and how big it is and everything.
Right, but we haven't got that.
The drainage, we can't really hold them against that, really.
I think at this point, Donnie, that's irrelevant though, correct? I mean, what Brian's asking for is a plan of what he needs to do, is that, I wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to try to, I mean, I told him I wasn't comfortable, you know, the big hill coming down toward the road, right at the level of the road. But a lot of the houses where people are parking along the edge of the roads in their yards or whatever, so they didn't want to put ditches in, I guess, too. So, I mean. we
Most
tried-
people don't like ditches because of mowing.
Yeah, which we had, I mean, these were decent swales, I mean, they were 4 to 1. most of them were decent, wide, just little,
Yeah.
I mean, they were mowable, most of them were, there were a few that were a little deeper,
You need drainage.
yeah, so.
What is on the table?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
What is on the table?
Well, we just need to know, I just wanted to know what the board wanted us to, I mean, they're the ones that approved the plans, and so what they want me to do. I mean,
About the four?
yeah,
Nothing, can't do anything.
They just didn't do what they said they were gonna do.
just start with getting performance on beforehand from now on.
Basically on their own, if they get flooded, it's, I don't know about flood insurance, if that, if we can see it.
Well, we flood insurance will cover it all, I think. If they don't, I mean, if they have flood insurance, it will.
Part of the buy, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They get their house on it.
we'll move on from there then.
So can they come back to the county if they have trouble with their house? They'll just
They didn't,
build.
they didn't go to the plan that we approved for. So it's basically null and void, whether they're on their own.
The issue is they only allow permits to be issued.
No,
It doesn't,
On the other part.
I mean, if we're not gonna deal with any of the drainage here, I mean, we can just move forward and make sure they get them all up front.
is there any ordinance or anything we need to put in place to make sure they comply
You know,
and
the
fees
board's
and
been
fines?
doing it on a case-by-case basis, making their approval subject to, and then one of the conditions is performance bond, and then we look to the surveyor to give you an estimate of what it would cost to put it in if they fail to do that, and that's what they have to bond for. And that's, needs to be in place
So they can
before
go
there's
ahead.
any work, before there's any work done. And then we have to issue a stop work order if we see that they're working in violation of the condition that were set.
Can we set fees and fines for that?
Well, Dan, I don't think we have anything on the books, but I'm not certain of that.
I think there's something a little bit,
I mean, the stop work order is usually what's used to,
we're just fine with that.
you know,
They
well,
continue.
I don't know if it is on the, there probably is on the, area plan side, right?
Well, drainage orders too.
The drainage ordinance
But
has
in
that
there,
in
there's a
there.
stop work order if you work without, or after that, there was a fine up to $500 a day
Okay,
or something.
so there is, yes.
I'll check on that.
But what about a situation like we're in now? Is there an ordinance we can put in because you didn't go by the plans, and then be a fine? So like if they didn't do that, it's $1,000 a day until
I
they.
don't think we have, they have taken it out of the public realm by entering a contract separately with the contractor. And so it's a matter of private contract between the owners of the four properties and their contractor. The county is not a party to that contract, and has no obligation, and it has no legal means to be able to intervene in that contractual relationship. So that's,
So all we're looking at really is what we're gonna do for the future here. They're wanting to sell this property, you got a developer who's wanting to do it, and he's willing to put up a bond, right?
We need to meet with them yet. I mean, we've held off meeting based on getting this off of this side.
I think it's
It's
done,
done.
right?
They're on their own, the way I look at it.
Cameron, what do you want?
I don't mean to put this all in your guys' court, but I would entertain that if the corrections that are made to this first part, are not gonna affect the second phase. I mean, the last thing we wanna do as a county is keep people from coming, moving to the county. We want housing, we want more people coming to the county, so I'll put it in your guys' court that if a performance bond was, if they wanted to, I don't wanna hold him up, but at the same time, my hands are tied because of what we're in. So what's your guys' thoughts of moving forward, I guess, with the second phase, if we had a bond in place, and did it the correct way?
that's kinda how we got where we are in the first one. How much should the bond be for this second phase? What should the
They're gonna
drainage?
have to redesign plans and everything. they're changing roads and they're not gonna,
So it will
Not
directly,
recommend
it
that
will
you
affect
give
the first
any
phase.
approval subject to
won't,
anything.
because
yeah, they're gonna have to have,
Two
they're gonna have to replat the whole area.
So the way that it slopes away, the first phase is all draining back towards the creek. The other phase is over here, so this first phase doesn't drain towards the second phase where they would be building houses or sheds away from them. So the first two phases are completely separate.
For the next phase, yeah, they'll have to, like, if they'll have to renew the plat.
I still think we need some kind of ordinance from the drainage board that if you don't comply, you're gonna be fined and pay more taxes or something.
We need to have something in place that.
They'll do a drainage review anyways.
Well, until they get, for the bond, to get the bond, and nothing's
That's why I'm here.
done.
I can't get him to do anything.
As far as anything moves. But we have that in place, and we were promised that.
That's why I showed up, because I can't even do it.
Can't go on there.
Not my recommendation, it's not what I asked.
You don't have plans to
They,
approve
those
those
four
things.
acres. got-
No, yeah, they'll have to.
They decided, based on Ken
Here's, they're gonna change everything.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Ken, that's real.
They're gonna redo the roads and everything else.
Well, I just wondered, is it a condition of getting a building permit that they have a performance bond? Is that part of anything, or can it be, or?
That's what we need to get.
It's not the individual properties that need it, it's the subdivision, it's the developer that.
Well, but they still, I mean, they're the ones that hired the developer, they're the ones that hired the
I
guy who didn't do
agree-
his
I
job.
agree with that.
Yeah,
But I think the agreement was that he was supposed to have a performance bond, he just never did it.
and apparently there are no
We gotta
consequences
just
for
make
that.
sure next
Well,
time
something
we
like
have
that.
that bond,
And nothing's turned, and the wheels are turned until we have that in place. Nothing's approved.
So, we'll just ban him from doing.
We have to have a plan.
I would do that for sure.
What I do is.
Yeah, what's that the drainage? So,
Bring us a plan when they get that done, and then we can approve it, and they can give us a bond, and we can move forward.
need to go back to work. Well, I'm just saying that, you know, there's nothing for us to do until they put in their plans for us.
As you go.
I know, well, when I have a septic installer that doesn't comply with what I tell him to do, I don't issue him any more permits in the county. I say, you're done working in Carroll County if you're not gonna abide by the rules, why don't we do that with this guy? If he's not gonna
Well,
abide,
if it's a different guy than who's involved in it now.
why?
it'd be a whole different person buying the
Well,
other one.
No, she's just saying, in
I'm
the
saying
future,
if
don't
he
issue
says, "Don't
permits to
issue any
Brian.
more permits to this guy, let him work in Carroll County, if he isn't gonna, and that's what I do with my installers, if they don't comply with what I tell them, then I'll say, well, I'm not working with you anymore.
And I mean, this guy here, he's basically a home builder, I mean, he's not into excavation and stuff like that, they kinda, I don't think he realized what all he was getting into when he started that project, so, normally he's not doing a whole lot of drainage work on subdivisions and stuff like that. It's not like it's one of our regular contractors around here that's doing work for the county, so, Lafayette, I think.
Yeah, he's the old project manager for Gunster Builders, who did tons of subdivisions in the nineties when Gunster went over.
We should be aware of drainage.
He should be, yes.
I think a $1 million bond costs around $100.
Yeah.
So, does that sound right, Donnie? I mean, $1 million bond doesn't cost a million, there's a,
Right.
I used to have the
Yeah.
chart when I worked.
It's an insurance
We were given
policy.
$100,000
Yeah.
bond, and I
It's a-
checked it,
it's
it
a
was
work
like $300.
performance bond. Yeah, it's just a work performance bond, so
Yeah.
it's, whatever number we come up with would be what we want to cover the infrastructure that's gonna be affected.
Yeah, we had 100,000 put in place for him to get, and if, I checked with my own insurance, just to see what it would be, and it was $300 or something like that. So it's not unreasonable, so.
And $100,000 is double what they would have needed had they done the drainage before the drives were put in.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it quoted by Julian Kessler at $38,000.
Yeah, we just kinda we made sure we had enough,
Yeah.
it's no better to have too much and not enough, so.
They can submit us a cost estimate prior to of what they've come up, because they're going out and doing all the engineering plans. So we can make them supply us with a cost estimate of what they think, and then base the bond on that. If they think it's gonna cost $65,000, I mean, that's just an option, that's how we did it.
Well,
Or we just have a set number.
the question is, what do we need to do today? What do we need to do today?
Nothing, I guess. I mean, like, he can go ahead and issue the compliance for the board. I mean, there's something to do with the drainage. I mean,
That's not for drainage, right, or what?
well, I mean, he's got 4 compliance certificates that needs to be issued for that 4 houses yet. I mean, if they go to
Is
say,
that the area plan commission?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a question for Cindy, I don't.
Well, I mean, we were holding him up on that, that's why I was
Oh.
kinda, you told us to,
I suppose,
so if we're not gonna require him to do anymore.
yeah, I don't know that it takes a board motion to do
No,
that.
but I mean, he can go ahead though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And then since Brian's not here, am I okay to communicate to those 4 families that the issue for drainage is between them and Brian strictly at this point?
I mean, I was gonna call him too,
Okay.
I mean, they was, we got their number from,
Okay.
I got both of them, I can give them a call, so they will be excited. Even though Tyler's gonna be here today. Okay. With that, we'll move on, that was our big thing here, pretty much, the rest of it, other than, Buck Creek, he's getting ready to go out and fix the last of the outlets or the washes that sides of the ditch guys, kinda came into the bottom area, we're gonna do some of that to help shore the banks up a little bit. So hopefully should be wrapping that up here pretty soon. And, then, I mean, like I said, the rest of it's, haven't had a chance to get to yet. New business, we had 3 new work orders, 7919 is, number 104 William Forest. We need to clean the ditch out, it's on, 200 east and 750 south, down there in, it's, yeah, Democrat Township. And I just actually went down when it was raining, at 2 inches there a couple weeks ago, and there's a lot of settlement and stuff in there, slowing the water down, keeping the tile under the water, the outlets into it, so I'm gonna try to get with, like I said, letters out to landowners and get a contractor signed to that. Number 8019, that's the number 85 Big Sugar Creek, they had a broken tile, and it was north of 200 south and east of 30 west, we did get that, fixed already. Number 8119 is the number 70 JC Reading. It's on 500 north, it's on the east side of the tracks, there it comes north out of Camden. We actually got that fixed as well. Next thing I had, Ted, I did have a petition to vacate a drain turned in. There's only 3 landowners that own the land in that whole watershed, and they've actually all 3 signed the petition. Do I need to have a hearing still, or is there?
I probably wanna give you a form that they waive notice, so, you don't have to have a hearing. So the answer is, no, you don't have to have a hearing, but we need the owners to sign a waiver of notice and consent to the board vacating it without a hearing.
Okay.
So I'll give you a form.
Okay, that works, so you can turn that in.
Who are the 3 owners?
Dave Lambert, Benjamin Pickens, it's basically it's more Rosen Farms, or Rosen Farms, they own it in, Rita Moffett.
Yeah, I guess,
It's, yeah, 200 north and, 550 east, or so, 25 and 600 east. Yeah, it's a small 12-inch tile, and the farmer, or they've all come to agreement, they're just gonna work on it themselves, and, take care of it, since it's such a small watershed, they're the only ones paying into it, so they'll just take care of it themselves. So, with that, we will move on, we had, 3 work orders completed last month. Mileage for the month of October was 289 miles. Basic surveyors, update, for the office. Monies collected from commits was $525 for the month of October, bringing the year total to $4,300. And that would be it, unless there's something from the public.
anybody got anything from the public?
just have a question. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes, I do have a question. As a drainage authority, I understand that required by law that you have to manage and maintain construction, reconstruction, and maintenance of all Carroll County regulated drains as required by state law, correct?
The ones that are on maintenance, yeah.
And that you maintain all investments on regulated drains along with year-to-year budgets. You submit specifications for drainage on an as-needed basis for contractors and the public, right? And you investigate all allegations of drainage obstruction petitioned by property owners as required by state law. Nowhere in your obligation of drainage board, in the position you are, do I see where it states that you have jurisdiction over the creek that runs through my property, through our property. Nowhere do I see that. The creek that flows through our property is named Squaw Creek. It's listed in, and all the information concerning this creek is in the Indiana Streams and Waterway website. Nowhere is that creek that flows through our property called a ditch. It is called a creek from the beginning till it flows into the Tippecanoe River. Now, I am unhappy with getting a bill for drainage. I don't have drainage. I've got a creek that runs through my property. I do not have what you're trying to tell me I have to pay for.
Is the creek part of the regulated drain?
The part that's running behind our house is actually called the J. Johnson Ditch. It's recorded it's actually up in the auditor's office.
Is the watershed delineation correct?
Yeah, it's one we just had the hearing on last month,
Okay.
and we sent the notices out of the order. But, yeah, I mean, it's just an open ditch that runs through there.
She has a tile ditch down there.
There's tile ditches on further north that come into it, as far as the watershed.
Cause she had it in that direction.
No, this is an open ditch right behind our house. This is part of it.
It's property, it's a small property.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. How many acres did it say you had in the watershed? How many acres did it say you had in the watershed?
I'm sorry.
On your letter?
I didn't think of it. How many acres? Oh, we have a little over 5 acres, I'm sorry.
Little five.
So you have a map of watershed.
Yeah, that's it. She said.
I have
challenging
maps
whether
of the creek that flows through our property. I got these off of the website, and it shows where it begins and where it flows to. And we're on 600 North, it flows right across behind our property. It's called the Squaw Branch Topo Map in Carroll County, Indiana. And under the Carroll County map software, it's called the Straw Branch information, and it tells how long it is, how deep it is, where it's running from, and it is titled as a stream. It is titled that. In that one, and where they also call it Mitchell Creek, they also title it as a stream. Nowhere is it titled as a ditch.
Well, they're all waterways. I would suggest you get with Don and look at the map that's there on this drainage.
It's real simple. It's very plain. It shows exactly where it flows, and it shows exactly what the name of it is.
Well, we
And
got
that's through the
records from
Indiana.
1882 that say
And
that it's
I
this, so.
called Indianapolis about it. And they were in agreement with me that it is a creek. It is not a drain. You tried to drain into it. Oh, when was it? Back when Obama was saying about all the waters in the country was,
Water's US.
yeah. And that fell through because that was a bunch of baloney. And this is a bunch of baloney.
Well, do some looking, have Ted look with me or something, see what we can find out.
Yeah.
And
I've got maps, I've got all the pictures showing where it flows.
Are you saying that that none of the water from her property drains into the regulated drain?
No, she's saying that our regulated drain is actually that creek name. It's
It
not.
can be a regulated drain and a creek, a natural stream.
Does that have anything to do with the people who own the property giving permission for it to be a regulated drain? What
It-
authority do you
it-
have to
it
say that a
predates-
creek that has been there for better than 100 years
Right.
is now considered a drain?
Your-
Just because someone wants to dump their water into
Yeah,
it?
whoever owned it in the 1880s was given notice by the circuit court, because they,
Find the papers and show them to me. I'd appreciate it.
I
No,
don't,
Well,